In Sudan, after months of protest, Omar al-Bashir was ousted by the military. He had been in power for 30 years. He's been sentenced to 2 years in detention for corruption. A transitional government made up of civilians and military leaders is currently ruling the country. In Algeria, huge demonstrations led to the fall of Abdelaziz Bouteflika. He had been at the helm for 2 decades. Anti-government protests went on all year, even after the presidential election. It was won by Abdelmajid Tebboune, one of Bouteflika's former prime ministers. A few days later, the man thought to be the effective ruler of the country, General Ahmed Gaïd Salah, died aged 79. In Cameroon, main opposition leader Maurice Kamto was arrested in January. He was released 10 months later. The government organised a national dialogue to try and ease tensions in the English-speaking regions. They feel marginalised by President Paul Biya, who's ruled Cameroon for 37 years. The Democratic Republic of Congo witnessed its first peaceful transition with the election of Felix Tshisekedi, but his win was controversial. According to the Catholic Church and several international media outlets, the real winner was Martin Fayulu. In the continent's 2 biggest economies, the incumbent won the presidential election: Cyril Ramaphosa in South Africa and Muhammadu Buhari in Nigeria. In Senegal, Macky Sall won a second term. In 2019, 2 Tunisian leaders died, former dictator Ben Ali and President Beji Caid Essebsi. The presidential election in October was won by law professor Kais Saied. Zimbabwean former President Robert Mugabe also died this year. He was 95. He was a famous freedom fighter, but gradually became an authoritarian ruler who stayed in power for nearly 4 decades. In The Hague, the International Criminal Court acquitted former Ivorian President Laurent Gbagbo. The prosecutor appealed, and Gbagbo is currently living in Belgium. In the Sahel region, jihadist attacks were carried out throughout the year. 3 countries especially were targeted: Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger. According to the UN, nearly 1,500 civilians were killed in terrorist attacks in Mali and Burkina Faso this year. The Nobel Peace Prize was awarded to Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. He made peace with Eritrea and released thousands of political prisoners in his country, where inter-ethnic tensions remain. The African Continental Free Trade Area was launched. All African countries except Eritrea have joined the trade bloc, but its implementation could take some time. In December, it was announced that the CFA franc will change its name and become the ECHO in 8 West African nations. Some financial links with Paris will be cut, but the ECHO will remain pegged to the euro. In the arts world, 2 very different musicians died this year. Ivorian star DJ Arafat was killed in a motorbike accident, while South African singer Johnny Clegg died of cancer. The great Kenyan writer Binyavanga Wainaina passed away. He was only 48. In sports, the Algerian football team won the African Cup of Nations, and South Africa clinched its 3rd Rugby World Cup. For the first time ever, its captain was a black player, Siya Kolisi.